right, good evening, everyone. The September 3rd, 2019 work session at Swarthmore Borough Council is now in session. Doing a quick roll call here on my own, I can see that all are present and accounted for, which is wonderful. And we haven't seen all of you in one place for, I don't know, maybe a month or so. And it's great to have everyone back together. Because this is a work session, we have two public comment periods, one at the beginning, one towards the end. So the first public comment period is now open. If anyone out there in the public would care to address council on any issue, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and speak into the microphone.
Hi, my name is Sue. My name is Sue Edwards. I live right across the street from the SRS school, College of Western Avenues. Grew up there. I've lived there most of my life, minus 25 years in the middle. I didn't prepare anything because I didn't know if I'd have an opportunity to say anything, but I did just hear a talk today where somebody said, we are the generation that has the opportunity, in fact the obligation, to protect life on Earth as we know it. It's pretty extreme, and we're seeing the extreme results of climate change. Evidently, I was just reading that the the Arctic, what do you call the flow of the jet stream, basically has been affected by climate change, and that's why we're seeing storms that stall. So there's so many indications that climate change is upon us, and it's very real, and it's very dangerous. So I hope you'll take seriously the Ready for 100 resolution today and make it not just a matter of words that get passed, but action. And I'm one person, and I know many other people ready to step up and do whatever is necessary for education, contacting people that I know around the country in the Sierra Club. I'm a Sierra Club volunteer that would help us. There's many towns around the Connecticut area that are a few steps ahead of us, and they're going to be good models for us if we choose to consult them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address council at this time? Seeing none, I'll declare the first public comment period closed. First item of business this evening is a report from the Environment Committee. Laura?
Yes. Thank you. The last meeting we talked about the Ready for 100 resolution, and we're not meeting in September. I'll be out of town. So our first item to look at is the Ready for 100 resolution, and the ESC has been working a lot with Sue Edwards and the Sierra Club to craft a resolution, and it's gone back and forth to Jane a lot, and the Environment Committee approved it last time we met. And this really follows up on a lot of our previous commitments, our borough's previous commitments to clean energy, and kind of fills in some gaps. And if we approve this, the EAC will be following it up with more specific actions. This is kind of an intention to meet these goals, and how they'll be met is going to be worked on later. So are there any comments or questions about it?
I have just one question.
Sure.
This is a great thing. I think on page 2, once we get out of the whereas clauses and into the resolved part of the resolution, paragraphs 2 and 3 refer to a committee to be commissioned by the EAC by April 22nd, 2020. And that committee would report quarterly to council.
Right.
And it sounds like it has to do with an energy transition plan.
Yes.
Has any thought specifically been given to how
what that would look like?
Yeah, what it would look like.
I don't know exactly. I know that they've considered, can I pick out someone in the audience? Sue or Bill, do you know what that committee could possibly look like? If you don't, it's fine.
I mean, the committee plan that they would come up with, which is your question then?
Well, I guess there are two parts to it. One, a committee will be commissioned by the Environmental Advisory Council. So there's first the issue of how do you do that? Who's on the committee? Also, what sort of task or mandate would it have? And which I guess really is the second part of it. I mean, it sounds like it's an energy transition plan that you're talking about. Yeah. If you don't know all the details or any of them now, that's fine. I was just curious.
Are you familiar with the plan that was adopted in 2011, the climate action plan by the 4 municipalities, including Swarthmore?
Yes.
So it would be similar to that probably, but updated. And in fact, there's a paragraph in that plan that says beyond 2019, I think it says, we're going to, or 2020, I forget which date, we're going to need to really get more serious and take more action. So it's sort of following up on that and extending it. I don't know if it would have to do with zoning.
It's really, I see it as the EAC, really.
Okay.
Just a part of the, a subset of the EAC.
Yeah, like environmental groups, people.
I mean, it's not going to be some new group out of nowhere that's going to be, you know, yeah, anything else?
Is there a way to make that clearer in the wording? Because it does sound like a new group, a new committee, the way it's written.
So.
Maybe a subcommittee?
Could probably do that if that's what is meant. We can, let me make a note of that.
So maybe what you're referring to is a committee of the Environmental Advisory Council itself. It's like not like something.
But I'm not
itself.
sure that's necessarily what was meant. I think the ESC will figure out, you know, an appropriate response. But I'm going to see if that can be nailed down a little bit more.
Okay.
And then will that committee report to the full borough council or to the environmental committee? In the next section.
Well,
I don't know if that
it could be the environment committee. That might be more appropriate.
I don't know if that needs to be specified, I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. You know, most communities don't have the environment committee. They have the EAC and they have borough council. At least that's what I understand. Just doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that might be appropriate.
You have a question? Somebody has a question?
No, somebody out there does. Maurice has a question.
Someone in the audience,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
The number 3 does say the committee and/or consultant will report quarterly to borough council. So if that's hanging open, then it needs to be decided.
Yeah, I was just, I realized you may not have all the details fleshed out.
Yeah.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
you know, what you were contemplating. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Good question.
And there was some talk about having Swarthmore College, elements of Swarthmore College participating in helping create a plan. You could speak better to that, I think, or one of you.
Okay, so this is something that's...
Yeah, I mean, this sort of sets intentions and starts it rolling, and it is possible that, I mean, there certainly are, there certainly is energy and knowledge in the college that I think will, I asked them later on, that will, that I think they can be involved in this, but it hasn't been, you know, worked out.
Right. Yeah, this isn't an action blueprint. It's
No,
just,
not at all.
As you
I
say.
mean, and they will be produced later.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this something you would want us to vote on next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. And there'll be more things coming through if this gets voted on, more specific plans.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess I do kind of have another question. In terms of, I don't even know how to phrase this exactly. Oh, is it not? I'm not coming across. I guess my concern is economic consequences of this. And if we're encouraging this, I'm trying to look if there's something in here specifically to help lower income individuals, because environmental issues go hand in hand with income inequality. And there is some pretty significant income inequality in our communities. So is there something, I guess I was kind of looking for it, I didn't quite find it, something that specifically speaks to that piece of making this equitable in terms of income and,
Number 7.
That hasn't been
Number
Number 7.
7, all Swarthmore residents and stakeholders will have the opportunity and be encouraged to participate in the planning and implementation process in an equitable way. Is that?
I mean, okay, so there's a little language about it, but I guess I was hoping to see something a little more in terms of how that would be achieved. Because to say it is something very different, sorry, I'm talking to you, to say it is something very different than to provide some sort of mechanism for it. Again, maybe I'm being too specific and this is a more general plan that it doesn't need to be addressed at that time, but I'd hate to see something where we're encouraging residents to move this direction, but not providing some kind of mechanism for residents who don't have the financial means to move in this direction.
Was there a tax incentives associated with it in any way?
This is kind of an outline of thought, I would say, right now. And then the pieces, each piece will be put into place as it's taken apart and looked at as a committee gets together. So this kind of is a little bit of a blueprint for a committee to work from.
And I think everyone's comments are great, and there definitely
And
needs
they're
to be energy put into those questions that you're asking. We just don't know the answers yet, or the approach quite yet.
Number 9 also speaks to low-income residents. That's a very important, but around the country, the Ready 100 campaign is prioritizing justice and equity as we transition.
Okay.
So we need to be clear.
Great. Thank you.
Well, is this something that could wait to the second public comment period, or if it's really pertinent at that point, I'll waive it and
No,
whatever you have to
this is
say.
just reflection upon this, if we're supposed to be considering this.
Right. Any other questions, comments? If not, I guess come up for a vote next
Yes,
week. Is that
yes.
right, Lauren? All right. Okay.
Thank you. And then I have another item after we're done discussing that.
Okay.
The other thing that we have here is the contract with Bartlett Tree Experts for the street tree survey. And this is kind of the end game for this contract. It's not the very beginning. We've talked about it for months. And we've kind of gone over some of the so we went back and forth with the language a lot with Bartlett, and at this point, if you read it, you'll see that a lot of the language isn't really relevant to Swarthmore, but it doesn't really matter that it's there. You know, like they want, you know, but they're talking about tree houses and things like that. What's really important here in this contract is that we don't want Bartlett, we don't want to indemnify Bartlett. And they have said that that's not acceptable to them. So maybe if we vote on this contract, which does not indemnify them, and they actually get it, and maybe they'll change their minds about that. So that's really the important thing in this contract is everything. We've kind of hammered out everything, and Ross has been really helpful in separating out how we look at trees that are in the public right-of-way versus trees that are on borough property, and that's why there are two different documents. Their legal department has been, unwilling to budge on some of this language. So we decided our big non-negotiable, we accepted a lot of their language, and the big one is about the indemnification, and that's a noun, I think it is, indemnification. So are there any, and I'm hoping that we'll vote for this contract next week, and then they'll get it, and they'll take it or leave it, at that point.
Yeah, so this is not something that's been agreed yet with Barclay. This is sort of our
But
proposal.
we're formalizing it, yes.
No, but
They have not seen
they have not
seen this.
Okay.
Any comments or questions about it?
I have a question. And I think I've asked the solicitor this before, I'm sorry. Am I right, or is it just wishful thinking that we as a municipality could not indemnify them if we wanted to?
I think that if you enter into a contract saying you're going to, I think that you've got there's theories on which you could, but I mean, the bottom line is we should not be paying for private parties' legal fees. But are you saying there's a statutory prohibition?
Right.
I'm not aware of a statutory prohibition, but it's possible there is one, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's generally, we shouldn't be picking up
No,
private parties' tabs.
no way. Okay. That was my big concern, the indemnification.
And just to be clear, along with that, their evaluation and assessment will be hands-on. They're not going to be boring into trees or doing anything that would actually cause
And it is not a,
visual.
it's not a hazardous, it's not a survey for what's finding what's hazardous. It's more about mix, as I understand it.
Yes.
What the mix is, where the ashes are, because the ashes are all going to be killed by the ash borer. What you should be what you should be filling gaps with going forward based on what's there now and what's going to be vulnerable to the ash borer, for example.
So if they see anything that they believe is really a dangerous condition in some way, they would notify us, but.
Well, actually, that's not really what it's about. The separate contract on your own trees on borough-owned property is that sort of assessment. This is as I understand it, a survey, an inventory of what you have, ages, when they're likely to die for planning purposes.
The problem with the assessment is that because the borough does not pay for trimming or removal without a co-payment from the homeowner, you really have no way to follow up if you find out that the tree is in trouble, which is a bit of a conundrum, but the bottom line, when I talked to Bartlett, they have never done one of these when the information is then not taken and acted upon by the municipality, and that there would be a third party responsible for following through with the recommendations. It's a little bit different. You have one there for, they actually made a mistake on it. I mentioned it to Lauren. I had not looked at that contract before for borough-owned property, but they included not only parks, and what are obviously borough-owned properties, but also the trees in the town center, and those should be excluded because those are the responsibility of the private property owner, just like the trees that you may or may not have in front of your house. They just happen to be owned by people who then rent them to businesses or use them.
And that will be changed.
Yeah.
So when it says ISA tree risk assessment qualification,
That's just for the borough-owned one, right? That's taken out, it should be out of the one. for the street trees.
frankly, I had trouble telling which one was which.
I think there's a heading
It
on it
says
that
the
says
first
risk.
The one that says risk is, it's called a level 2 risk assessment, and that's not in the street tree inventory.
Okay, so that's different than the borough tree risk.
Definitely.
Well, there are two different contracts, right? And the one,
They both say it.
They both
right at the top, it says location of work.
Yeah,
One says all trees within the public rights of way within the
right.
borough.
But they both say ISA tree risk
And then
assessment.
the next one said, yeah, but location of work, all borough-owned parks and town center trees, and you think they're both?
They don't say the same thing. They both say that Bartlett professionals with these certifications, certified arborist and ISA tree risk assessment qualifications, will perform service one is a inventory. The other one says that person who has this qualification, this tree risk assessment qualification, will perform the services described below.
All right.
And that is the one that is the borough's own.
Yeah, got it. So they're defining their personnel and not
Right,
tasks.
exactly.
All right, thank you.
And the borough, I presume, will follow up with whatever they find in the trees on borough property, of which there are quite a few.
Any other comments? So we're assuming we'll vote on it next week.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Is there, I guess there's not a committee report other than those two items.
Not really, yeah.
Right, great, thank you. Finance Committee, Mike.
Thank you, David. First of all, we will be meeting Monday, September 23rd at 7:30 here for those on the committee, mainly about budgetary items or any other things that may come up in between. Tonight, just quickly, I guess we'll vote on it next week for the MMOs, but just to, hopefully people have had a chance to take a look at the minimum municipal pension obligations for both the police and the non-police employees. And the good news is combined, it's $7,202 less than last year. That's really driven by the fact, mainly in the police side, because 2 employees are in the drop program, and we haven't hired a replacement for Ray yet, so that's lowered some of the costs. Some of it's actuarial, but that also we're losing the state aid. So net, we do end up with $7,000 less. In terms of the actual numbers calculated, happy to go back to Jason Fine with any questions, but it's really just formulaic. So this is what the minimum obligation is, and we'll vote on the actual one before state aid, correct? Is that the way we do
That's
it?
right.
Yes, so it's the line number 10 is actually the one that I will present next week for voting. So, anybody have any questions or things that they want answered that I can go to Jason for? Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. And when's the meeting of the Finance Committee?
23rd, Monday, September 23rd,
Great.
7:30 p.m.
Great, thank you. Sarah, general government?
Thank you. So we did meet last month, and we reviewed some parking issues and what was being done to help with the farmers market busy Saturday parking situation. And the farmers market organizers have taken steps to spread the word to try to find parking away from businesses that need their parking spots out front. And we also reviewed a permit, and we actually approved a permit for the SRA Oktoberfest, which will be on October 5th at the co-op. While approving that permit, though, we had a discussion about how in recent times we've had a lot more requests for permit approvals that involve distribution of alcohol. And so we're reviewing our permit approval process to make sure, and we're working with Bob, and we're going to talk about it at the next meeting, just to make sure that we're taking all the safety considerations and legal liability in account when alcohol is served, since it has been, we all notice it's been on the increase lately. And so we just want to make sure we're doing our diligence. So we'll discuss that when we meet, which will be on September 23rd. No, that's the Finance Committee. I'm thinking the wrong date. It'll be on September 16th at 7:30 here. Also, next week, I'm going to bring up to you all, we had a discussion with the committee on 3 candidates for the Human Relations Commission, the expanded Human Relations Commission. And so I'm going to bring those names up to you for final approval next week. But one candidate will finish a term of someone who is actually stepping down before his term is up. And then 2 other people are new, will be new members, and so will help carry forth the expanded commission. Should I say their names now, or does it even matter?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, please say.
The names are, okay. So Jennifer Termat is what we're going to ask to finish the term that's already, so she would be finishing a term. And then the two new positions would be Melissa Kennedy and Jasmeet Ahuja, and they're all Swarthmore residents and very enthusiastic about serving. So looking forward to finally getting that going and getting the approval going and getting that commission up and running. And that's all.
Thanks, sir. Betsy, planning and zoning?
So planning and zoning last met in July, and before we get to 23 Meadow Lane, we discussed the borough's use and occupancy regulations, which need to shift a little bit because state law has changed. And since that meeting, Jane has informed me that, in consultation with Bob, that we don't really need to change our ordinances because state law has changed. We need to comply with state law. So Jane has developed a new form with a temporary use and occupancy certificate that Cuzzy's using apparently with great satisfaction. So that's a whole issue. We're now in compliance with the state and not upsetting the realtors with use and occupancy. So that was
Right, just as a little, that's exactly right, just as a little aside, what this law did, which was passed in 2016, I think, is it basically prohibited municipalities from stopping a sale because the property could not be brought into compliance. So the big thing now that this allows is for the sale to go through, but an agreement between the person rehabbing the building and the borough that if you go into the building, they can fix it up. To get permits to do all that, then they have to come back and make sure that it complies with our use and occupancy regulations. Whereas before we might have said, well, you have to put money in escrow or you have to fix something, and that's what the borough
Well done. The other thing we discussed was the ordinance 1087, which I guess is still being advertised, is that correct?
Yeah, we advertise for October, public hearing, because it's an ordinance change.
Right.
Right, so hopefully we'll be able to get that finalized in October. And then we had this issue come up with 23 Meadow Lane, 435 Riverview Road, which Jane circulated the plans to everyone. It was originally proposed as a subdivision change, and then it went to a reverse subdivision, basically uniting a property in the back there that has a pool and a garden with the house on Riverview Lane. It's currently a separate lot. It's changing the dimensions of the lot a little bit. So Bob has crafted a resolution about that. I'm waiting for Planning Commission to get back to me just to verify. They reviewed it in August and approved it with waivers, but that was the original subdivision proposal. And then the plan changed to this reverse subdivision, which is basically taking the lot, which is kind of an orphan lot now, and uniting it with the Riverview property, which is the owner who's using it lives on the Riverview property, not the Meadowview Lane property. So it's basically uniting it into one big lot, which is really the best solution for the whole thing. It was reviewed by Springfield's Planning Commission, by our engineers, by the county, by at least one solicitor, and this was the best
And the
solution.
engineer and I both recommended that they make that change, that they make that the reverse subdivision. So I was happy to see them
Yeah.
work with us and do it.
Right, but since Planning Commission essentially reviewed a different version of the plan, I just want to get their okay, and then hopefully we can vote on the resolution next week and have it done. So I guess stay tuned for that. So that being said, the Planning and Zoning Committee will not be meeting this month. And instead, I would like to encourage particularly the Planning and Zoning Committee members, but anyone who's interested, Swarthmore College is going to be presenting the plans for their expansion of Sharples Dining Hall. Is it Sharples?
Yes,
It's
yes,
Sharples.
it is Sharples.
Yeah. They will be presenting the plans at the Planning Commission meeting on September 18th. And Jane has copies of those. If anyone's interested, you can ask her ahead of time. I just thought, these are kind of the bigger projects that come across our path. And if anyone was interested in hearing it firsthand from the college, I think that's probably a better use of our time. So again, September 18th, Planning Commission here at 7:30. Anyone who's interested, and hopefully please, planning and zoning will do that instead of our regular meeting. I think that's it.
Great. Thanks, Betsy. Mary, public safety.
Thank you, David. We did not meet last month. We are going to be meeting this month, Tuesday, September 17th, here at 7:30 p.m. We'll have a full agenda as per usual for the Public Safety Committee. The thing that I would like to do tonight is make a motion. I would like to appoint Tanner Rouse as an alternate, bless you, to the Civil Service Commission. So may I make that motion? And then if you want to have a little bit of discussion about him after, we can.
Let's have a second.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, he's out there, so I'm going to say nice things about him. So Tanner just moved here recently to the borough, and we're very happy that he's willing to serve on the Civil Service Commission. He is a former prosecutor. He's a lawyer in private practice now. He has a lot of experience with police and law enforcement, so I think he'll be a great addition to the Civil Service Commission. He did not grow up here in Swarthmore, but his wife did, so he's seen the light. Now he's a Swarthmore resident as well. So that's it.
We do have if you vote for him tonight, sorry, that was awkward.
Are you voting for him?
Marty can swear him in.
Oh, fantastic.
Ready?
You just give me the word.
Okay, well, we have to vote.
Fantastic. All right. So let's have a vote. All in favor of appointing Tanner Rouse as an alternate to the Civil Service Commission, please. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, was it you?
I
think it's Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren.
Oh, Lauren.
You said it at exactly the same time.
Yeah. Okay, I wrote Lauren, it just, okay, that's good. Thank you.
All right. So, all in favor of Tanner Rouse as alternate to the Civil Service Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations, Tanner.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard. Love to have you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, very honored.
Marty, would you care to do the honors?
My part of the show now?
Wow. This is full
Jen, would
service.
you join me on there? I wouldn't know when flip flops.
Yes.
Just, could you just get it from the waist up? All right, so we'll face the camera. And it's my honor to administer your oath. Thank you so much. Place your right hand on the Constitution and repeat after me. I, Tanner Rouse,
I, Tanner Rouse,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United
and of
States
the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and to perform the official duties
to perform the official duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Honored.
Thank you, Mark.
Boy, you came prepared with you.
Yeah.
Just
You're-
down there.
you're both
Wait for
prepared.
the Constitution and we get more.
It's wonderful.
I didn't know we were doing that. I told Tanner he didn't have to come.
Actually, that's why I did, because I thought you said he was coming.
Yeah, but I told him he didn't have to.
Oh. And his family didn't come? You can do it again.
I think I'll get over it.
Thanks again to Tanner Rouse and to Mayor Marty Spiegel. Anything else, Mary?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Ross, Public Works?
Public
Parks and
Works,
Recreation.
Parks and Recreation, did not meet in August. We will be meeting in September at the usual time, September 26th, Thursday at 8:30 in the morning. That's all I have, nothing else to report.
Thank you. Is there any other business any other member of council would care to raise at this time? If not, we'll hear from Marty.
Well, I think you already have.
Well, we'll hear again. You got something to say?
I've had my 15 minutes of fame tonight. I'm going to pass on. I don't have anything to report. We'll hopefully have some new things to bring after public safety. That's kind of the big item this month.
Great, thank you, Marty. This is the second public comment period that we have during work sessions, so if there's any member of the public who would care to address council at this time, please come forward. I'll count to 5. 1, 2.
Oh.
Yes! I knew that would work. Would you mind coming to the podium and stating your name and address?
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Bowser-Bostic. I live in the city of Chester, just on the border with Nether Providence. And I'm also a member of the Delco Medical 100 campaign team. We usually meet second floor community room, second Fridays of the month. And I just wanted to say with the resolution, I don't know if you wanted to adopt this resolution as it is or put in your changes, but when it comes to wanting to specify how you'll help low-income residents participate either directly with having, let's say, solar panels on their homes, or and then there's other ways, of course, helping low-income residents, say if they live in apartment buildings, trying to facilitate, power purchase agreements, community, aggregate, ways that the community as a whole is participating in buying clean energy, and then you can, set the rate or, decide however you want to include low-income residents in that. So it's not important, like when you adopt the resolution, to get every detail in there, because that will come, that'll be clarified in your climate action plan that you're saying you're committed to developing. This is just the outline, this is just a goal of what you want to accomplish and when, and then you get into the, the nitty-gritty, the fine details, afterwards. Because it's so important to at least start down the road, even if you don't know all the steps and all the turns you'll be going along on the road. It's important to start, because climate change is just not going to get any better, if we do nothing. We really have to, start making our plans to prepare ourselves and our communities to be able to weather the changes that climate change is bringing now and will bring in the future.
Good. Thank you so much. Any other member of the public care to address council? If not, the second public comment period is closed. Jane, do you have a manager's report too?
I would actually like to get, I don't know if we need to vote on it, but I at least would like sort of a consensus for the borough to apply for this rebate program. So some of you may recall when Central Park was done, we put in the conduit to put in an electric vehicle charging station. And then it was sort of when the idea of charging stations where people had to pay was just sort of coming online. At that point, people were, for the most part, charging at home, buying level 2 chargers, or just plugging into the wall. So the conduit is still there. It may not be in exactly the right place, and it may not be big enough, but the idea is still there, and it's very close to the electrical box, so we should be fine. There are now several companies that are working. There are several networks. Blink is a network, ChargePoint is a network, and both of them have approached the borough and wanted to be sure that we knew about the electric vehicle rebate program from DEP. This is a program that is funded by the court case of Volkswagen when they were a little badly behaved and fudged, I think, a little bit on their diesel emissions. And so all states receive some of that settlement money, and the Commonwealth has put it into a variety of programs, clean air programs. And one of them is the electric vehicle charging rebate program. And it's you get in line, and you don't have to have done the work yet, you just get in line, they will reimburse you up to $10,000 of the cost of a charging station. One of the requirements is that it be in a dedicated which we have a couple spots in Low Hall. There are almost always 2 units, 2 plugs. So that is probably the most onerous requirement, is that those state gauge would be a sign saying that it's for charging of EV vehicles. Westchester's put them in, Kennett Square's put them in. I would say there are about 6 or 7 municipalities right around here that have applied for and been successful in the rebate program. I'd like to do it because they're going to give it out until they run out of money, and I don't think we want to have waited. And we don't have to do it. We can still discuss and decide which program we want to do, charge it, we actually want to put in the ground. But we want to get in line so that after we're approved, I think we have 90 or even maybe 120 days to spend on that. So I just kind of want a general, I don't like to apply for things without council knowing. So I don't know that we really need to
It can't hurt to
Okay.
vote.
Okay. So that would be a vote then to approve application to participate in DEP's Level 2 electric vehicle charging rebate program. Actually, PICO also has a $500 that they'll kick in on top of it. I think we have to apply for
Can I ask 2 questions? The first is, it has to be a dedicated spot. Does it have to be a dedicated spot 24/7?
that. Yes.
Okay. The second question, because I think that's the only place where you get any resistance on this, is dedicating a spot. The second question is probably a stage 2 question. I know the college has a charger that is connected to solar. Again, we're discussing about 100% renewable. Is that an option that we could explore, is having a solar powered station installed?
I don't think that, I don't know, there's very specific requirements for how these are charged. I don't know what would happen if we didn't have enough, somebody tried to plug in and there wasn't enough storage or whatever from the solar. I don't think even if you did start by hooking it up to the electrical panel, there would be any reason that you couldn't change it over to being charged to solar panel at a later date.
Okay, but there might be restrictions in the grant application itself.
Not the grant, I think the grant doesn't care, but I think that when the actual installation goes in, I have like an 8-page booklet on from one of them on how it goes in and what the electrical requirements are.
Right, but that's from a retailer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, these people just want you to, right. The
Buy
state
your
just want you to
product.
get it
Yeah,
done.
yeah, so they're
I think either one will be fine with them.
Yeah.
Jim, what's the total cost of one of these?
Well, I'm looking at a couple of options. I would say they're more expensive than, I don't know, does anybody here have an electric vehicle? No, you do? And you plug, is it all, or is it, you plug it in, and now did you buy a level 2 charger?
We haven't bought a level 2.
Okay,
We've been
so I think you can buy a level 2 charger for even like $500
Yeah.
or something like that.
If you install it yourself.
Right, this is a lot more money. I'm trying to make sure that the prices are correct. It's about $8,000 because it's networked so that somebody can swipe a card and be charged for the electricity. So the borough won't be giving it away. And then there's a company that would monitor that and send money back to the borough. It's not very much money. What was the one that I mentioned? I was trying to
$50 a year or something.
Well, one municipality has 3 chargers, so that's 6 units, and they've been in since, might be West Whiteland, I might be wrong. They've been in since April, and they just got their first check for $64. But nobody's trying to make money, you're just trying to make sure the taxpayers know that you aren't giving the money away, so you're recouping those costs. And I think they're charging $1 an hour. Tesla stations apparently are charging more than that. I think maybe they're faster chargers, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
This
this
is not a particularly fast charger. This is not, the electrical requirements for one of the superchargers is.
Yeah. The Tesla ones are, a lot of vehicles can't use the Tesla ones, so it's.
Tesla won't let anybody accept. Teslas can charge anywhere because they have an adapter. But you, if you don't have a Tesla, you can't use.
But there are some stations that only work with the Tesla type,
Right.
even though they're not Tesla stations.
Oh.
So,
Well, like Wawa has all Tesla chargers, I just saw them. To answer your question, I will try and do a memo on that before we decide which way to go. I would say the net out cost of the borough after all this will be about $2,500 $1,500 and a recurring annual cost of about $1,000. But I'm looking again at the two options. One is the blank program and the other is charge point.
Jane, is this something you'd like us to vote on next week?
No, I think now, 'cause I'm a little worried they're gonna run out
You
of
wanna
it.
get
I was
going?
gonna do it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, so would anyone be willing to make a motion along the lines of what Jane's been describing?
I can do it. I'd like to make a motion that we vote for Jane to apply for the DEP grant for the EV charger in the municipal parking lot.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Jane.
That's all I have, thank you.
Mara, do you have anything?
I do not tonight, thank you.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.